I'm Chuck Pagano. I'm the president of the foundation. I'm also becoming a retiree on Friday from ESPN after 35 years. Oh, God, you have no idea. Congratulations. I'm an original. I'm a pioneer over there, and it's sort of like got my newfound freedom. One of the loves that I have are technology. I'm the chief technology officer until Friday. And quite frankly, as I reflected over the years, I probably would have never achieved that role had it not been for a community college that I went to when I was a kid. Mattatuck Community College for you older people, but it's down Naugatuck Valley because I'm a citizen of the town of Waterbury. And when I needed them, they were there for me, which is the reason why I'm here to help the cause of getting scholarship and financial aid for students and for people who need it coming to this institution. I'm your master of ceremony, so I don't do this often. So I'm just going to tee it up, and I want to thank our legislative group that came out to see us today. The students and the people associated with the college just want to give you their story and share their stories with you, just to get a perspective. And as I said, it was important for me in the 70s. I know it's important for each and every one of them that are going through this. So with that, I will hand it over to, are we going to do this? Voluntarily, okay. Who wants to be the first? Starting with Victor. That's what happens when you have a V in your first name. We start at the end of the alphabet, Victor, and unfortunately, V is for victory. Victor, would you like to share some stories with us?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for being here. It means a lot to Tunxis and myself to see the representatives here today. Boy, where do I start? Mike? Thank you, Dr. Ed. My name is Victor Neves. This is my third year at Tunxis Community College. I'm the president of the student government here, as well as the student representative to the Board of Regents on the SAC. Last night I was actually in Hartford for the General Assembly that was going on, and I had a little interview with Fox News, gave them my opinion about what was going on. And I really want to say that what goes on at Tunxis is phenomenal. I've met so many influential people, so many wonderful professors, and if I hadn't gone to Tunxis, I don't think that I would have had the opportunity to be where I am today. Had I gone to UConn or CCSU, I think that I may have been able to be a big fish in a big pond. Here, I'm a big fish in a little pond. What that means is that I can directly impact and influence what's going on in the school. And I love waking up and being like, all right, what are we going to do today? Whether it's telling people not to bang the ping pong on the ping pong table in the student lounge, or if it's coordinating club fair that's going on right after this, that I'm going to be there for 4 hours. It's a wonderful feeling, a feeling of accomplishment. And just 3 years ago, I was in high school. Never would have imagined that I'd be standing here today speaking to state representatives and great people at Tunxis Community College. So, thank you.
Thank you. I need just to elaborate a little bit on what Victor said. Yes, my name is John Piscopo. My name is Whit Betts. I'm the state rep for Bristol and all of Plymouth and Terryville. And the reason why I wanted to stand up and speak, I told Victor he was on TV last night. I saw him. What he didn't tell you was there was a huge crowd, overflow crowd up there of students and professors testifying about the need not to make the cuts that were proposed in the governor's budget. What Victor didn't tell you was there had to be, I lost track, easily 30 people from a university who was trying to jam their way in through the room. And there was Victor at the end of the line. And if you want to see leadership, he wasn't going to lose getting into that room. So he wangled his way through the room to make sure he was going to be seen and heard. And he was the only one. That doesn't mean Tunxis wasn't represented, because Dr. Addy spent 2 hours with me yesterday. She was up here along with other people to tell us how important and how valuable community colleges are to each of you and to this community. But to Victor, I mean, it's a sign of real leadership. I really applaud you. It's very difficult to do, and you really, you certainly really made an impact in my mind. So congratulations and thank you for taking the time to do that.
Thank you, Victor. Good job. I'm just waking up. I really would like our legislative body to introduce themselves one at a time so we each have a frame of reference. We know Whit introduced himself.
Sure, my name's Henry Martin. I am a senator from the 31st District, and I'm pleased to be here. And Victor, nice job. I connected with you because I went to a small college, and I felt that participating on a smaller scale, smaller college, you can easily become a big fish in a small pond, and it helps to build confidence and leadership skills. And there's a lot to say about attending a small college. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Kevin.
Good morning, everyone. Kevin Witkos. I'm the state senator from the 8th Senatorial District. I represent the towns of Avon, Barkhamsted, Canton, Colebrook, Granby, Heartland, Harwinton, New Hartford, Norfolk, Simsbury, and Torrington. And it's a pleasure to be here this morning. Victor, you're passing through, and I'm through Tunxis, and I saw something on the board that somebody started the murals of this passing through. What a great message that is. I passed through the halls of Tunxis myself, and I'm a graduate of Tunxis. I'm very proud of that. I think it's a great foundation for the next step in life, moving on from high school. And it has served me very well, and I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a Tunxis graduate. So congratulations and good luck to you. Thank you to all the professors here today. We have just begun a very difficult task after the governor gave his budget address and people having the opportunities to pour through the budget books. And I know that higher education has a target that was delivered. I kind of assured folks today that I don't believe that what was presented is actually what will be passed, because the Appropriations Committee is hearing, and you could tell by last night that we have a ton of people coming up to the Capitol, including the president of your student council, the student government, to say what kind of devastating impacts will have on the amount of money that's being proposed to be cut from higher education. So as a legislative body, we're certainly looking into that. We have a lot of needs in our state, but we will certainly keep those comments in mind, because we know that education is really the foundation of life skills. So thank you for inviting me here today, and look forward to some further discussion.
John Piscopo. I'm from Thomaston, Connecticut, 76th District. I represent Thomaston, Harwinton, Burlington, little piece of Litchfield. I'm a proud representative of Victor. He's one of my constituents. I do have a number of constituents that go to this school, and some faculty, so I'm proud of that. And the way my district is made up, I go from Thomaston up into Harwinton, through Burlington, little piece of Litchfield. I have Mattatuck. I went to Mattatuck, Naugatuck Valley Community College, and I also have Northwest Community College. So I know the mission of the community colleges. I support the mission of the community colleges, and I believe in them. So thank you for having us here today. I serve on the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee, the other side of approach, the revenue side. But I do serve on the bonding subcommittee along with Betty Bogus, who's from Plainville, right down the street here. She chairs that committee. So we oversee your building and your loans, stuff like that. And I also serve on energy and environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mike Demicco. I have the pleasure of representing Farmington in the legislature, and only Farmington, as opposed to all the other great towns that surround us. So as such, I'm the representative for Tunxis and the whole town of Farmington, or 90% of the town of Farmington. I want to echo what Senator Witkos said. The final budget that's going to come out end of May, beginning of June, will not be the same budget, almost assuredly, that has been proposed by the governor. And that's why so many people go up to the Capitol every day, as Victor and his compatriots did last night. So many people go up there to argue and to make their case as to why the budget should be altered and should be made more favorable, particularly for college students, particularly for community college. So, there will be a lot of back and forth in the next 3 months, and hopefully we'll end up with a budget that is more favorable to colleges and universities. I certainly support that. The tough part is, and just to be very honest, everybody in the state of Connecticut wants what they want, and everybody wants low taxes, and that's the rub. I mean, that's the tension that goes on all the time. And what we have to do is try to find a way to fund important programs, and certainly nothing is more important than education, but at the same time we have to be able to be respective of people's pocketbooks. So that is the tension, and that's the debate that's going to go on for the next 3 months. But make sure that you are part of the debate, and don't stop there, Victor. Make sure you keep up the pressure, you and everybody else. The other thing that I want to say is I'm always happy to be here. I was just here last week to visit Professor Knowles' class and learn quite a bit about oral health. And up at the legislature, was up there testifying in favor of a bill that's going to help out the OASIS program along with Dave and Karen DeBarry. So you guys are making quite an impact up there at the legislature, and you always do. And keep up the pressure, it would be my message for you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks each and every one of you for coming out early this morning. We appreciate it. I just want to give a shout out. I see one additional foundation member, Mike Rivers. Can you just say hi? And that's Mike. I don't see any others. I know a couple more were going to come. Who wants to be guest number 2? Tonia does? We have our female Bob Barker over here rolling you down the aisle. Tonia, have fun.
Hi, thank you for coming and listening to us. I know you guys have a really tough job to do, and I know you have a lot of decisions to make. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my story and what Tunxis means to me. I grew up on a farm in Minnesota. I am not a traditional student here at Tunxis. I live in Farmington now, so. But when I first moved here, after recently being separated from a long marriage, Central wouldn't talk to me because I couldn't provide my tax returns. Tunxis, Tunxis said, you know what? Don't worry, we're going to work with you, we're going to find you financial aid, we're going to help you get settled here, and I wouldn't have an education without Tunxis. I wouldn't be here. I'm about to graduate from Tunxis, but I can't stress to you the faculty, every person who works here at Tunxis is the heart and soul of this community. They want only the best for us. When I have 2 children, when my children are sick, they're like, what do you need? What can we help you with? When I'm having financial issues, the financial aid office is there. We're going to work with you. We're going to figure it out. But I can't stress to you the faculty being there I got emails last night in the middle of the night from the faculty just correcting papers because we don't have enough faculty. They're overworked. We don't support them enough. And Tunxis is at their breaking point. Cuts would seriously hurt not only the faculty and the actual institutions, but directly affect us students with raised tuition. We can't afford it anymore. And we are the immediate future. I mean, we're going to graduate. We're going to go into the job market very quickly. And we're at our breaking point. We need this money now. We can't wait another 5-10 years. But that's all I have to say. Thank you. Make Brendan speak next.
You did a great job. Thank you. And next is your name? Brendan. Go at it.
Good morning. My name is Brennen Howes. My story is a bit less quick out of school than Victor's. I was in high school, I want to say 12, 13 years ago. Graduated a year early and decided, I'm going to go to UVM. At 16, going into UVM. Talk about a little fish in an entire ocean. I quickly got lost in a sea of numbers. And I was also there for other reasons. My father wanted me there. I didn't really want to be there for what I was there for. So I decided, after chemistry lab one day to drop out. I then started working. So for the last over a decade, I just had jobs. I worked my way up into different places, became a manager, and kind of took some of those leadership roles, which has really served me now that I'm back at Tunxis. I've been the president of the business club. I'm now secretary of the SGA alongside Victor, president of the theater club. I'm really trying to get active, and not just in business, but in the arts and anything that I can do to help out. I don't think that I would have been here had I not had some years of work and experience. I came back to school because, well, frankly, we need to now. That dropping out of school and just getting a job isn't going to go very far. I don't necessarily know that a lot of the young students here understand that. A lot of people, as Dr. Addy said, treat this as maybe 13th grade. And that stigma needs to go away because honestly, Tunxis has been one of the best things that has happened to me. And I couldn't see myself being anywhere else to start the first 2 years of my education. I'm currently applying to a number of Ivies, Brown, Yale, and so forth, trying to get myself even the next leg up because I'm being frankly, I'm a little bit behind the times, a decade too late. But doing the best that I can, and without Tunxis, I wouldn't even have that opportunity. Maybe I could have gone through UEM, but as a C student, perhaps. And now I'm an A student, and that's all thanks to Tunxis. I don't even want to list everyone because I feel I'll miss some people, but there have been a number of people here, as Tonia said, as Victor said, that have really gone out on a limb for us and really done a phenomenal job, and I can't thank them enough. And it would be an extraordinary loss if, as Tonia said, the financial aid went away, the faculty that does twice their job were to be asked just a little bit more. It really would be a tremendous loss.
Brendan, thank you very much for sharing your story. I'm a quick learner. Dr. Addy, who should volunteer next? Mishalle, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name, as Dr. Addy had said, is Mishalle. This is my 4th and last semester at Tunxis, and I cannot stress to you enough how much of a community this community college really is. When you are in high school, you are assigned one guidance counselor. When you are at Tunxis, everyone is your guidance counselor. I have sat in offices for upwards of 4 hours talking about, I honestly don't know, with my professors. Literally last night, I was supposed to leave campus at 2 and I ended up staying until 5, sitting in a professor's office talking about what was supposed to be the humanities blog, what ended up being watching YouTube videos. When I was in high school, I had a number of things that really prevented me from taking that next step into a 4-year university. I lost my brother. We got evicted from our house. I really didn't think I was going to be able to make it anywhere else. I thought high school was going to be the do-all, end-all, and I was going to be done. I was going to stay home. I really had no future ahead of me. And then my mom, who went to community college, told me that I would be able to make it in community college like she did. So I went in my first semester here. I got all A's and 1 B. That was upsetting. And my next semester, I decided I wasn't going to just aim for high grades. I was going to aim for success. I ended up joining a number of clubs. I stayed on campus for hours just doing homework, and I really got involved in the community of Tunxis, and I really felt like I was recovering from something that I had lost. Tunxis, when I first started coming, I thought was a 13th grade. And now that I'm leaving, it feels like I am leaving a life behind me. I've been editor of the newspaper, been editor of our humanities blog. I hate leaving campus by the end of the day. The thing that really makes Tunxis unique is that students don't have to stay here but they stay here. You don't have to go to class and go home. You can stay here for hours, and that's what people do here. We stay and we make friends when we don't have to. We stay with professors. It's a real community at Tunxis, and Tunxis has been more than just a starting off point for me. It really saved me. It really gave me a place that made me feel like I was successful when I really thought I wasn't going to make it anywhere. And as my last semester here, I feel like I am leaving this entire home behind me. And I feel like it's really imperative that we keep this place a home for other students, for students who come here, not because they couldn't go anywhere else, not because they had bad grades in high school or because they didn't try, but because Tunxis really saves students. It really encourages students. It's a real encouraging environment where professors will sit with you and talk with you and work with you. And the more that we cut, the less that students are going to have that opportunity, the less students are going to be able to sort of make it and survive. And Tunxis was essentially survival for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Very nicely done. You actually helped delineate the word community college and what it means community-wise. I like that.
Thank you.
Who is next, Dr. Reddy?
Well, Calvin, are any of your students ready?
I like the look of fear.
I think about it one-on-one, I guess. Okay.
Okay.
Any volunteers?
Okay, the floor is open. Who'd like to volunteer to talk to their story?
Or ask questions?
Hello. How are you? What's your name?
My name is Randy.
Randy? I'm Chuck. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Randy. I'm a little bit nervous, sorry. I actually found out yesterday that this was something that I could participate in to kind of show you guys the importance of Tunxis. A decade ago, I was in community college in Canada. I relocated to the United States 3 years ago. When I first went to community college, I didn't really get it. I dropped out with a 1.8 GPA. When I moved to the United States, I realized how woefully unprepared I was for anything to do with life. And I was encouraged to go back to school. Really, I didn't have a lot of options because who's going to take anybody with a 1.8 GPA? So my husband's like, community college is, as he quoted Chris Rock, a disco with books. Here's $10, let me get my learn on. And so I came to Tunxis and I said, please, for the love of God, let me in. They said, no problem. Fill out this application, we'll see you here in the fall. And I came, and for the first time in my life, I was successful. I maintained a 4.0 GPA for 5 semesters. And now I'm on my way to becoming a nurse. I'm actually applied to another community college in Winstead for a nursing program. And the thing that makes it so fantastic is I'm able to get the education I need without crippling debt. I don't need to apply to St. Joseph's and worry about, $120,000 in debt when I'm done. I'm able to invest in my future without devastating it. And I also have the privilege of being a part of something bigger myself. I'm able to help other students. I'm a peer tutor. I was president of the Spanish club for a while. I'm part of the Humanities Service Club. I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity to better myself. And I see other students who also walk my path and are able to, sorry, my phone's ringing. Thanks, Michelle. I'm able to see other students who are walking my path and say, you know what, you can do it too. You have an opportunity to make yourself better. Community college is going to help you get there. And I think that losing money from Tunxis would be to absolutely devastate the future. I wouldn't be able to have the grades that I have or the opportunities I have if it wasn't for the Academic Support Center, if it wasn't for, the anatomy and physiology room being available to me whenever I need it. Or even the anatomy and physiology tutor lab where there's professors there who are like, come in with any question, we will make sure you understand. And that's really all I have to say. Just, please don't take our money.
Thank you very much, and thanks for sharing your journey. Tonia?
I just want to know from you guys, do you have a plan? Do you have a recommendation? What can you do to help us? I mean, literally, when I say we're at our breaking point, we really are. And I want to hear from you guys what your plans are, what your thoughts are on how you can keep us funded.
Great question. Who would like to take the salvo?
Nobody.
Whit, I can tell you one.
I'm on the budget committee and you're asking the wrong person. Before I answer that question, I want to say one thing that struck me as I listened to all of you. And I think I can speak for everybody here at the panel. One of the criteria for making a decision financially is to help people help themselves. And Tunxis Community College has done a lot, obviously, to help you. But I think the first thing you should do is acknowledge and give yourselves a real pat on the back for taking the initiative to want to improve yourself, to want to learn, and to continue to push forth through some very difficult obstacles, including some unsettling life experiences with your family at home or with your jobs. The speakers who just spoke now, I heard you loud and clear about how important Tunxis is to your life. Well, it's very important to all of us here to see how you demonstrated not only leadership and initiative, but drive. The drive to improve, to make your community better, and it's that can-do attitude that really separates leaders from people who just go along and get along. So to all of you here, our hats are off to you because you're the reason why we're here, why Tunxis Community College is so well respected, and it's just gratifying to hear that that's really been a very, very, not only positive experience, but really has met the expectations we've all been looking for. To answer your question, I don't know, but I'll give you some ideas, at least from my perspective, of how we're going to be approaching this. We have, I'll do it two ways. One, I'll tell you, the fiscal situation is horrible. It won't make any difference what numbers I give you. We're just spending far more money than what we have. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's not even close. I mean, it's like an ocean gap. And we haven't been doing it for 1 year. We've been doing it for several years. And the one thing I want to impart upon you is we haven't collectively done our job, in my eyes, in terms of taking fiscal responsibility and being honest and upfront with you. It isn't a philosophical debate as to whether we support education or we support people who are, individually challenged or mentally challenged, or people who need home and shelter, or people who are looking for jobs. We all agree on that. The problem is we're making promises that we can't deliver on. And I'd rather have somebody be honest to me and say, I can't do this, and you have to look for another option, than to just sit there and say, okay, Victor, I'm right there with you. And Tonia, don't worry, I'm all behind you. Because you know what? We may feel that way, but we can't deliver. And that's just the reality of it. We have to get over this denial of having something we don't have. So we have to start setting priorities. And as I said to Dr. Addy this morning, I think the time has come where we have to start thinking outside the box and start looking at things, I would say, in a 5-year picture rather than a 1-year picture. I think we need to sit there and say, okay, if education is one of the core missions of state government, then that's what it is. It is a core mission to which we are committed to. Will it mean that there are some other very worthwhile programs, very worthwhile missions that are going to suffer from that decision? Yes, it will. But it's not a death knell for them. It just means you can do things differently. And I'll give you one specific example. One of the largest parts in our state budget is the delivery of social services. And this is an idea that I heard from Senator John McKinney, and I really like it. if in the non, you have two groups that deliver social services: the public sector, i.e. the government, and the private sector, the nonprofits. The nonprofits can deliver the same services basically as the public sector, but for less money. Why can't we take, or at least evaluate whether it should be done, take 50% of those social services and have the nonprofit sector deliver those services, assuming the quality is good and it meets the expectations that we all have? Is that a radical change? Is that a big change? It's huge. It doesn't mean necessarily people will lose their jobs, but it will mean that some people may end up moving from the public sector into the private sector. But think about the advantage of doing that. Okay, no longer will we be talking about whether government has the money to support one of the core missions, education. Because the nonprofit sector, which has the ability to be able to raise money, for example, or the state government can give them money to do more at a more reasonable cost, will free up money in the state government to help out with the missions of education. And one thing I heard loud and clear last night is, I think it's a very good standard, education should not be mediocrity. It should be excellence. So those are going to be the type of choices that are very difficult to make. It won't happen in 1 year, but I think if we, as policymakers, make those decisions, and I want all of you to recognize that when you make those decisions, and let's say you're the beneficiary of it, I can promise you there'll be 10 groups sitting out there swearing, cussing, screaming at us, saying how uncaring we are, and what are you going to do to help us? People are not powerless. We can empower ourselves. We just have to remember that. I think we sort of lost our way and think, well, government's going to solve everything. We can do a lot of things ourselves. Okay, and if you end up being the beneficiary of it, I hope you will also help the other people who have been hurt or have to change their way so that they don't feel like they're left alone, they're not part of the community, because we are all one. But the first starting point is to be honest. I don't care if the economy was going like gangbusters now. I am totally convinced now that government does not have the ability, does not have the resources to deliver on its promises. And as soon as we acknowledge that, the faster we can start moving forward in investing in the core missions of government. So that's my philosophy. In terms of what's going to happen, is too early, but I will venture a guess. I could almost say with 100% certainty that you're not going to see all the proposed cuts in the governor's budget is going to be restored, just because of the magnitude of our deficit. Not because we don't want to do it, but the reality is we don't have the money. We've run out of a lot of other options. You may not want to hear that, but I'm telling you the truth. Okay, but can we do a lot to soften the impact? Yes. But we have to change our attitude in terms of what our priorities are going to be, and not do it for just 1 year, but from my perspective, do it on a 5-year basis. I think collectively start having a can-do, will-do, work together, empower ourselves. It's not just the government, it's everybody here in this room. Sorry to take so long, so.
Whit, thank you very much. Outsourcing works in corporate America. I think that's what you're saying. When you're not focusing on the core product, put it out where you get better economies of scale. Anybody else want to respond to the question? Sure. Mike?
I don't want to get into a debate here, but I do. I essentially agree with a lot of what Representative Betts just said with regards to priorities. We have to set priorities. We have to make education a top priority. It is a top priority. I think that's clear over the years. That has been a top priority for the legislators as a whole, and it's certainly a top priority for me. I'm a former teacher, so I will always favor education funding, I will always be in favor of that because I know how important it is. I know what it means to people all across the state and all across the country. The whole idea that we can outsource things and let nonprofits take care of the situation, I don't know, with all due respect, I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, nonprofits do not have the resources that the state has to be able to deliver services as well and to the level that they need to be provided to people. So I don't know that I would favor it, say, well, let the nonprofits take care of it. They don't have the ability to do what the state has to do. So I really think it does come back to setting priorities and you know, that's where the tough decisions are going to have to be made over the next several months. But I will just reiterate what I said earlier, and I want to give a shout out to Robin. She makes her students go and lobby their legislators. That's part of the curriculum. That's part of the course. And Julie came and lobbied me just the other day. So and I would encourage all the students here and the faculty and staff as well to talk to your individual legislators and let them know how important it is to you to see that Tunxis and all the other community colleges are funded properly. Lobby your individual legislators. You know who they are, and if you don't know, find out who they are. Give them a call, send them an email, go visit them at the Capitol, and keep the pressure on them. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, sir. Kevin?
Thanks. It's been a week now from today that we got the budget book, and that's where everybody had the opportunity to look to see how you're impacted the specific agencies. And while it appears that higher education took a big hit, basically two different pots, $100 million from UConn over the biennial, and then $40 million from the Board of Regents, which is part of, not familiar with Board of Regents, it's all of the Connecticut State universities plus all the community colleges built into this one entity. And so, while it sounds like a lot of money, if you look at the education spending on the pie chart, where does your tax dollars go? 28% of all the money collected in the state of Connecticut goes towards education funding. That goes down from the elementary, primary school grades right up to higher education. And I'm not so certain that, as Whit said, and we've said earlier, that Mike, John, Henry, that what you saw in that book is what is actually going to happen. Now, the administrators had come forward yesterday up in Hartford and said, what kind of cuts, what kind of devastation will you see with those types of magnitude of cuts? And I was told, and it was encouraging, that, well, maybe the plans of the bricks and mortars might have to be delayed a little bit and start refocusing more on operating, which is delivery of instruction and students. And so hopefully you as students and faculty won't see that much of an impact. There's going to be some. I mean, there's no question about that. But I'm hopeful that a larger portion of the proposed cuts are plans for bricks and mortars, and that's going to have to be pushed out for a few years. Our economy is turning around. We are gaining net jobs, but it's a slow process. And our spending habits, we've got to, as Whit alluded to, we have to get in line a little bit better. But I think we need to keep a positive outlook. We're all in this together. There's not 1 ounce of anything out there that's not being impacted by this budget. And I'll give you a couple for examples why I don't think the budget's going to stand. Because there's some programs that have been absolutely, totally defunded in the budget. And as a society, I don't know how we can't function that way. From the regional fire schools, fire academy, zeroed out. The probate court system, zeroed out. And that's just not a reality. So I think part of that is to cause people to really take a look and say, well, prior to this, I wouldn't want any cut, but I guess we need to move some money around and at least have a percentage of a cut. That's worth the total elimination of a lot of things, because I don't think the things that we do in Connecticut, they impact the person, and they have a good reason to be there. But can the state continue to fund at the level it's at is a discussion I think that we'll be having going forward. So I just want you to know that my feeling is that I don't know if you'll see a lot of impact from a student and from a teacher's perspective. You might from a building perspective, if you're forecasting out 5 years, we want to put another addition on, and we want to do some structural things. I think that's where you're going to see some of the changes to higher education.
Yeah, I have to run. So Victor, Tonia, Brendan, Mishalle, Randy, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. Very quickly regarding the budget, I am not on any of the financial boards, but I do have a small business background, and I grew up in a small business, been doing it since I got out of college. So I do understand the struggles that a small business experiences. Regarding the budget, I think what we're experiencing, well, I know what we're experiencing is the fiscal undiscipline of the past has arrived, and we're seeing it now. We just lack discipline, fiscal discipline, and had we just done one thing simply, had this one discipline of not spending, or going over the spending cap that was brought into law, I think 23 years ago, this $2.3 billion that's projected, we would have a surplus right now. Had we just been disciplined not to go over that cap, we would have been it would have been a $5 billion difference, just that alone. So we wouldn't have this deficit. So I think if we as legislators can take that responsibility on and be more disciplined with the fiscal matters, we will set the stage or the foundation for future of future students, for all our constituents. We will do our best as legislators to balance the quality of life that we would like to have with what the taxpayers are willing to pay for. I think that's as simply as I can put it. So thank you for the invitation, Dr. Hattie, and thank you all, and thank you for each of the students that participated. So thank you.
Don't mean to chew up the only hour we have here at one question, but Tonia, you cut through it. I mean, with that one question, you got right to the heart of things with that one question. Do you have a plan? What are you going to do? And I think that says it all. We could have went 2 hours on speaking about adjunct professors versus full time and all this stuff, but you really cut through it, and you see us no, we don't really have a plan. It's going to be tough. It's early. We promise we will take a hard look at it. And you see us all kind of a little tense about this, and there is very, very real reason to be tense about it. We face $1.5 billion, $1.5 billion deficit this year, and it's when you're facing that kind of a deficit, cuts have to be made. Just feeding off of Henry's talk. We did come up with a plan back in 2010, took the budget apart, went through every line item, stayed up till 2 in the morning for 7 nights straight, going on maybe 4 or 5 hours sleep for that duration, living off pizza. And we did come up with a plan, a real plan, line item by line item. What did that take? Department of Children and Families has 8 programs dealing with children. You imagine cut children's programs. We had to cut children's programs. A lot of them have been building up since the 50s, and well, even earlier. But a lot of them have been, we want to help children. We put children's programs in every year. They've been building up. They're redundant. We could get rid of some. And what would that take? It would take a reduction of state employees. Bottom line, we'd have to cut the workforce. And we had that opportunity to do that in 2010, cut the workforce by 1/3, streamlined all our programs, not just children's programs. That was just an example, seniors programs, transportation programs, they get redundant, and they've been building up on our budget, requiring a lot of money. So that's a real nuts and bolts plan. This year, our hands are tied. Not to start a debate here, but the governor, the governor made some bad decisions when he first got elected, and he took all that off the table. We're no longer able to cut programs. You can cut programs, but the people still show up there every day to run their program. We can't get rid of them. So it's going to be very, very difficult. There's different philosophies working on this, but we will do our best to come up with a valid and something that we all can live with.
I just want to, I guess, make a comment that as policymakers, it's really not up to us to come up with a plan. Our job is to figure out where the funding is going. It's up to Dr. Addy and President Gray and President Herbst and the higher education folks to say, this is the type of instructional program that we want to offer our students. This is the amount of money we need to do that. And then our job is to, can we afford that and how much we're going to give you? And then the programs, the plan will have to be adjusted depending on what it is that you get. I mean, they were off, all the college presidents were off campus. Dr. Douglas was there, Dr. Addy was there yesterday. And a lot of the other university presidents were there advocating to restore the funding. And if, depending on, at the end of the day, what we have, then the plan will be adjusted at this level to determine what kind of programs that will be offered at the different schools.
Thanks to each of you for your comments back. Anyone else have a question? Or Tonia, you got the hard question this time?
I have a couple questions. First, you mentioned that 28% of the budget is education.
How much of that is secondary? Do you know offhand? Okay, that's good. I won't hold you to it. 22%. 22% is secondary? Okay. And I guess I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself, but I mean, I'm in my 40s. I've seen this, the politics. I know your hands are tied. I know you don't propose the budget, but you guys do have a lot of pull. I mean, you're our representatives. And we're really just tired of this shell game. We're tired of money being put into piles and then, well, we're giving you this over here, but we're going to take this over here. You know, it's just, I know that everybody's hurting, everybody's in debt, and that you have to make hard decisions. I have children. Nobody wants the whole publicity of children's being, you know, things being cut. Nobody wants, these are hard times. And I can't stress enough, Tunxis is really at its breaking point, and I know we're not the only ones. But remember our faces when you cut our funding. I mean, seriously, I wouldn't have an education. So please, just do your best, okay? Thank you.
I'll just say there's one thing that's very compelling that works in your favor that we all agree on. This state...
Can we ever all agree on anything?
Yeah, we'll agree on this.
Okay.
And that is, this state's future really depends on our successfully recruiting and retaining a younger workforce. And you are the future leaders. That's why, as Senator Witkos says, we put a lot of money into education. And believe me, that is an extremely high priority because we go nowhere. We cannot move ahead or move forward until we're successful in meeting that goal. So that is a very compelling argument in support of what you're looking for. And I am very confident that Representative Demicco totally concurs with my thinking. Yeah.
Thank you. Mike, I saw your hand up.
I'm Mike Rivers. I'm a foundation board member. I am in Tunxis alumni, and I have a similar story to Brendan without the Ivy League school piece. I want to talk about just the revenue tuition side of things just for a second. In fact, Tonia and Brendan and I were talking earlier this morning. I'm a small business owner in Bristol. I have a insurance agency, and a couple weeks ago, I was meeting with a 28-year-old looking for some medical insurance. He had been unemployed. He had no insurance for the last 2 years. Came off his parents' policy at 26, and we got talking. and he shared with me that his student loan payment is $900 a month. That's a lot of money. So one of the alternatives to these kids who are paying this kind of money back for education is the community college system for the first couple of years to lessen the financial blow. If you folks don't support the community college system, we're going to have a whole lot more of these $900 to $1,000 a month stories to tell. And it's just, it's not right. These kids should not be starting out in life that deep in debt. You can't survive. You can't do it. So you need to do the best you can to keep the money in the community college system. For a lot of reasons, but that's one of them that we hadn't talked about yet this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Nobody wants to comment on that, do they? Okay, that's a fairly logical question. I don't think we need any more amplification on it. We're all in the same boat. Anybody else have any comments? Any professors or any of the staff have a comment, question they want to raise? Shirley.
Thank you. My name is Dave Welsh. I'm the Financial Aid Director and Veterans Advisor here. Just to follow up on what Mr. Rivers said, in the community colleges, typically we're fortunate in that many of our students can get through, even those who need financial aid, without having to borrow money. We have about 10 students getting grants for every one student who takes out a loan. The state student aid program, which is now the Governor's Scholarship Program, our funding under that program has been reduced by about 50% from its peak, which was, I believe, 2008, 2009. And the budget again called for further reduction. So again, here's, if we can help keep more people out of the situation that Mr. Rivers was describing, again, that's a program that needs attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Any other comments, questions? Sure.
I appreciate the dilemma you're in. My kids and I did a little volunteer work at a shelter this weekend, and I was thinking about that. How can I compare the need that they have compared to our needs? And you can't, so it's an unbelievable responsibility you have. But I do want to say that even minor cuts, it won't be brick or mortar. We've been dealing with the cuts. I'm Kirk Peters, one of the deans here, for several years. We've had cuts already in our program. We don't offer services on weekends. The library is closed. The computer center is closed. The Academic Support Center, which provides tutoring among many other things, we're closing early now. We used to be open to 8 or 9 o'clock. Now we are closed at 6 o'clock because we have to. We had a recent person in my admissions office left. We can't fill that position. We're struggling to figure out how we can provide the same level of services, and we can't. What we'll do is it'll be a delay in students applying in some of our professional programs. We just won't be able to turn around things quite as fast. No, with some cuts, we're not going to close. We'll still be able to do the wonderful things that we do, but there will be direct service cuts to students with any cuts. Because right now, we've already been through, okay, let's get rid of, when I worked at Trinity, we'd have lobster when we had things like this event. Then I worked at Eastern, Connecticut State University, and we'd had chicken Newburg at events. Here we try to scrape up and get a few bagels together. At our meetings, we don't have food. We've talked to students about, we're cutting our paper, our office. We have to count how many pencils we have. It's not terrible here. This is a great place. We offer great things. But any additional cuts will result directly in services cuts to students.
Thank you. Michelle.
Just to speak on that from a student perspective, it is true we are very limited in our services. Last semester, we have a specific amount of paper that we can actually print from, and last semester, less than halfway, I went over my limit, and I was begging people to let me log into their computers so that I could literally print. I had to take a class where all of our exams were on the computer and we had to type, and every single time I had to go up to my professor because I forgot I couldn't print and had to ask him if I could just email it to him. Every time he forgot to grade it. it's this horrible inconvenience, and you had to pay to get more paper. And I really can't stress it enough that there are students who can't afford the $5 that it costs to get like 100 more sheets of paper. We have a limit of 500, and to be a student, 500 is nothing. 500 is you're going to go over, and that was the first time I had gone over so early, but it was not the first time I had gone over. I work as a tutor at the Academic Support Center. We are constantly understaffed, constantly. People come in for us to try and help them look at their papers, help them with their math homework, help them study. We can't help them. We literally have to turn down students who are coming in desperate need of help because we are completely understaffed. We have our director is taking over for our tutoring director. So the director of the support center is taking over for the tutoring director because she's on maternity leave. Rather than having someone just take her place, we have to have a person who literally has to have 2 jobs now because one person is not there. There are students who literally cannot get the help that they need because we are so desperately understaffed that they go to class with no help. Because there are students here who have disabilities, who need special help, students here whose second language is English, who need serious help. It's a difference between failing and getting a B when they come in. Students have literally failed classes and without tutoring come back, tutored, and gotten a B. I've literally tutored one of those students before. Without it, people can fail their classes and waste more money. So we desperately need to make sure that we have the funding for specific students with specific needs because not everyone can make a difference with just an attitude change. It's not about our attitude, it's about a necessity. We can't really do anything with just positive thinking. We need to make real changes. Yeah, that's it.
You're a faculty member, correct? Okay.
I hate to speak in these things. Anyway, my name is Dr. Henri Martin, and I am a professor of sociology here at Tunxis. So to speak on behalf of faculty, I wanted to say that there's been a lot of cuts, there's been a lot of faculty members who've had to retire, and we have no replacement for them. In the social science department, we've had 2 psychology professors retire, and at the moment we only have 1 full-time, or half of a full-time psychology professor. We're operating on part-timers, and there's a lot of stress in our department. So the cuts are really hurting faculty as well. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Brendan, you have something added?
One quick thing to add to Mishalle. It's easy for a lot of people to see our initiative. For instance, Victor running in to get his place where he needs to be because we do take that initiative. We will go a little extra step. But not every student either has that opportunity or has that courage. And all they might need is just a little bump, just a little shove in that direction so that they can kind of learn, to be confident with themselves, et cetera, and go on. But if that bump is in reverse, if it means, well, there's no parking today, so I miss a class. If it means that, oh, the Student Academic Center isn't open, well, I guess I'm not going to pass my test tomorrow, or whatever it may be. Somebody like myself, or Tonia, or Victor, Mishalle, all the people that are here because we want to be here, and it's, like you say, we help ourselves, and we're going to make sure that we're successful, and we try to help our fellow students as well. But when the students that maybe don't have that initiative or those friends or those connections lose more of those connections or get pushed in the wrong direction, I mean, it almost feels like a race at the bottom. Because now you can't park, you can't get your support, they drop out. Well, now admissions goes down. And then it all just cycles down, and I think we all lose at some point. So just to back up what she said.
Something else? Oh, okay. I'm still getting over 35 years at ESPN. They had lobster at Trinity.
They had stuffed lobster. I just want to respond to a couple of things I heard. One is, I think some of you should be in public office. Because there's a disconnect in reality, fiscal reality, between what you're doing and the limit on the number of sheets you have for copying, and then what we're doing up at the legislature. Okay. There really is, and it's not just the state government, by the way, it's the federal government as well. There's this, well, it's not my money, so I don't have to worry. I'm just here to get reelected, and I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. Okay, you may have your 500 sheets. I know about it today at 20 to 10, but by the time I get up to Hartford at 10:30, I'm just making copies after copies of something else. And we could change that. For example, they have these things called proposed bills, where we have ideas, and everybody has the right to introduce an idea, and it is not uncommon at all to have 15 people introduce an idea or something like enact increasing money for education. Say it 15 different ways with the exact same thing. They make copies of it, of the exact same idea. We can become more efficient by just simply saying enact increasing funding for education. We'd save a lot of money doing that. We wouldn't be able to go out and say, I'm your representative, I went out and sponsored a bill, I was there for you. Well, we all have something in common. We can do that ourselves, but we don't. And we can employ some of the ideas that you go through, and we can do it ourselves, but I think in a way, we become too institutionalized. Okay? We need to think outside the box and be more creative as well. In some ways, we have. We've made some very good progress. At public hearings, instead of having 50 copies of everybody's testimony, we now have it on the computers. The amount of paperwork, the cost for the paperwork of making those 50 copies has to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. So we're taking little steps of doing it, but my point is we still have a major disconnect in fiscal reality. Somehow we're able to afford doing things in order for us to do our job. You have to struggle to get to where you want to be. Let me share a couple of things that I think will make a difference and make you feel a little bit better, because I know it's a lot of times it can be grim, but I look at this, and by the way, I ran for public office. Do not feel sorry for me or the situation. I know it's grim, but I knew it when I decided to run. But I look at things that when you have a problem, instead of complaining about it, what can we do to try and change it or improve it? I have a fundraising background, and Dr. Addy knows this because I've served on several boards with her before, and she knows our philosophy about this, or my philosophy about this. You're not powerless. You can do some things without the state government, without the federal government, they can improve your situation. And that's why when I spoke to her yesterday, don't you think it's time to ramp up the foundation? And the foundation goes and they raise money for the community, for Tunxis Community College, that directly impacts and benefits the students and the teachers here. And it's a way of other people in the community, not just here physically at the college, but in the surrounding towns that we all represent, and allows people the opportunity to invest here. And because, like Kevin is a graduate, really believes in it, you send him a fundraising letter. I hope you have an address for him, Catherine. And to Mike Rivers, he's told me he'd like to give more money. Gives them a chance to say, thank you, I want to support the college in their time of need. Do it. You'll be surprised at how the response is and how it alleviates some of the problems that the government cannot solve. The very fact that you spent as much time here today and going up to the Capitol has made a very big difference in my mind, because it's the first time I've been on higher ed. So I've learned an awful lot and listened, like everybody else here, to what you're saying. And I'm not going to refute it because I think you're right. But I am going to tell you the truth and say, as much as I'm in your corner, I know for a fact that we are in deep, deep trouble. And until we start doing something ourselves, making some very unpopular decisions, it's going to be hard to get to where we need to be to meet your goals and what the goal is in the minds of a lot of people about for government. But I do think you've done an incredibly powerful job between last night and today of informing us, and as Mike had said, you need to keep us informed and let us know what's going on. But you can do some things. I hear you loud and clear. You know that we're strong supporters for the reasons you said, and you've demonstrated yourselves. So the best I can tell you is, I'm not going to lie, if we are able to restore all those cuts, we'll do it. But I don't see how that's possible in this environment. But you can bet there will be champions for what you're doing because it's a success. As I said earlier on, the best use of money is to invest it in people who help themselves. And you have been doing that, and you've demonstrated that, and I thank you for making us aware of that.
Thank you. We are now over the limit. I've been fired as MC because I've gone too long. So we're going to start wrapping up. Catherine, would you like to add anything on this? You're all set? Ladies and gentlemen, especially our brave student leaders, thank you. Your passion is impeccable. Our legislative partners, thank you for coming out this morning. Appreciate your attendance. And thank you to each and every one of you for showing up and helping support the cause. We appreciate it. Have a great day and a great weekend coming up. Thank you.